I would like to speak about an experience that I had in a church in Beckley, West Virginia. Now, to give you a quick backstory, I was a troubled teenager. I had a rough childhood. However, what I did didn't mean I deserved what happened. I was in an abusive relationship in 2016, which led me to leave and go to church. I was introduced to the new youth pastors. They had just moved across the country. And before I knew it, I became a part of this group. I made plenty of friends, and those friends quickly turned into family. Now, I won't say that I was perfect. I made mistakes. I was a troubled teenager before, and I still was a troubled teenager then. I was just trying to better myself. But I didn't know what bettering myself completely meant. So of course I made mistakes. And what I needed was leaders to help me learn from those mistakes. I became a part of the worship team for the youth group. And for once in my life, I really felt like I belonged. It wasn't until the summer of 2017 when things really changed for me. And this is really hard for me to talk about. But on my own doing, I invited a kid to come to church with me. And after church, he sexually assaulted me. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to cope with that. Now, this wasn't the first time I had been sexually assaulted. However, it was my first time trying to cope in a good way. And I failed. And I failed miserably at that. I clung on to certain people. And I broke them. And I deeply, truly regret hurting those people. And I apologize sincerely for the people that I have hurt. However, after that experience, lies started to rumor around to the point that I got a message from the youth pastor himself talking about that I was talking crap about them and that it made him angry. And I was confused. There were certain things that I didn't like and I wanted to vocally speak up about it. However, I didn't talk crap about them. Soon before I knew it, I was no longer allowed to come to that church anymore. I had a meeting with the youth pastors as well as some of the family members, the adults, talking about how they couldn't trust me anymore and that I was no longer allowed to come back. But if I wanted to come back, I would need to see them every once in a while to gain their trust back. And the 19-year-old me agreed to it. I would meet them out at restaurants, at their house, or they'd come pick me up and we'd go wherever. And we'd just talk about life and how I was doing and how I was coping and how I was becoming a better person. And with one of the experience with trying to gain their trust back, I went to the church with them where I met another pastor. And now I don't know what they exactly called this. However, they had me sit down on the couch. The pastor that we met there, she had me sit and close my eyes and talk about what I've seen and opening doors and just all stuff like that. And the youth pastor, the girl that I came with, she wrote everything down. At the end of that experience, I was told that I had demons inside of me. Why this still didn't cling in my head that this was not okay, I'm not sure. However, I continued on with it. Several months had came by and it was January of 2018. Mind you, I had been kicked out in July of 2017. But in January of 2018, I got a call from a friend telling me that they had been kicked from the church. I quickly messaged the female youth pastor and asked her what happened. She just told me there was differences and that it was time for them to move on. And I asked her, what about me? And she told me that I could go back to that church. And then she never spoke to me again. I'm not exactly sure what the other youth pastors did in the meantime, but I know they eventually created their own church. For years, I didn't talk to the other people because it was always my word against theirs. Until eventually another person was hurt by them, and she came to me and told me everything that happened. I am not going to speak on everything that happened to her because it's not my place. However, when I read that message, I felt sick to my stomach because it was very similar to mine. But me and this member became really, really close. We talked about our experiences and when things triggered us or reminded us of them or the church, we messaged each other and talked about it, which was more often than not. And one of the last conversations I had with her, we found out that they were going back to the same church, and we were both scared of who they were going to hurt next. And one of the last things I said to her was, God's not going to let them get away with this forever. And soon after, she tragically passed. And then they posted about her. And I'm not saying that they weren't hurt in any way. And I'm sure they are sorry for what they did. But what I am saying is you shouldn't wait for someone to be gone to feel sorry about what you did. You have the capability to tell everyone that you did wrong that you're sorry. But you've chosen not to. You've chosen not to reach out. Do better, be better, because the God that you talk about wouldn't do this. Jesus doesn't care about image. He cares about the ones that were left behind just as much. And the reason why I didn't say any names is not because I'm afraid to, but because they know who they are. And because I didn't make this video out of hate, I made it out of love. I pray that your eyes open to the truth, that you confess that truth before it's too late, that you recognize your mistakes, that you fix them, but more importantly, that you don't hurt anybody else. To anyone that's been church hurt, I see you, I hear you, and I'm here for you. It's not an easy experience to feel alone, to be the one left behind. But I want you to know that Christians aren't God. Church is not God. If you hold certain people to a certain power, they're gonna hurt you. But it's not your fault for doing so. I need you to know that even if you were hurt by people, by a church, by a community, God's never left you. Even during the dark times and even many years later, He's still with you. I love you, and thank you for listening.